Thomas Amjad, your voice for the PPC in Whitby. It is June 22nd, beautiful afternoon, and today we're just going to quickly look into what's going on with the inquiry that's going on in Ottawa, the inquiry into the Emergencies Act, that is to say why the government invoked the Emergencies Act, why they used the Emergencies Act. Because we know that the government felt back in February that they needed to use the Emergencies Act, give those powers to the police and RCMP, because they felt that the protesters in Ottawa were protesting government mandates, protesting against the government mandates, against those mandates that basically suspended their freedoms, hurt their way of life, needed to go. And the government felt that, well, the protesters needed to go. They felt that they posed a threat to the government and a threat to the people of Canada. So much so that the Emergencies Act needed to be used. The Emergencies Act has never been invoked prior. And what did that entail, the use of the Emergencies Act? Well, it entailed the suspension of not only the truckers and the protesters' freedom, but in fact everybody's freedom. Everybody's. Even those people who weren't there at the protests. Your bank account, if you weren't there but gave $5 to the cause, well, guess what? It was suspended. You couldn't access your own money, even though that is illegal. The Emergencies Act basically gave powers, unprecedented powers, to police to do whatever they wanted, however they wanted, and how many times they wanted against peaceful people. And we saw the result. We saw people getting beaten up for absolutely no reason. Peaceful people who would go away peacefully, who would give themselves up peacefully, were being hurt. We have heard accounts, not by one or two people, but many people who were there. Journalists were getting hurt. Journalists were being intimidated and threatened by police. That's not the Canada that we know. Horses being used against innocent people. And unfortunately, a couple of them were hurt by being trampled by these horses. Many people got hurt. Tear gas shot at them. Gas cans were shot at them, etc., etc. Unprecedented violence by our own police against peaceful Canadians. Disgusting and unacceptable. And the inquiry is going on, and why the government felt that this was necessary. And the story that we hear time and time again, and they're sticking by, is that the police forces, RCMP, Ottawa Police, they asked for these powers. They asked that for the powers because they said, at least this is what Minister of Safety Mendicino says, that the police asked for these powers because it's the only way that they could clear out the protesters, because they pose such a threat to Ottawa, to the government, and to the average Canadians. Well, lo and behold, guess what's coming around? The police are denying it all. Ottawa Police is saying, no, we never asked for it. RCMP, same thing, saying, no, we never asked for these powers. And so on and so on. Who are we to believe? Well, first of all, if all of the law enforcement is saying, no, we didn't ask for these, why would they lie about it? What do they have to gain about turning against the Minister of Public Safety and the Liberal government? They have nothing to gain. They're saying exactly what they need to say, the truth. Unfortunately, it looks like, again, this government is lying to us. Lying through tooth and nail. Lying on every point that is presented to them, and lying to the faces of every Canadian. This isn't the first time that's happened. We know this. They've been doing this ever since 2015, the first time they came into power. All they're doing is lying to Canadians, and it's disgusting. When asked, right, about how they got the information, some of these ministers came out, well, when I saw it on TV, I heard CBC, and they're actually quoting CBC about what was going on and how they found out about what was happening in Ottawa, and that's how they base some of their decisions. Mind-boggling. The CBC, really, the state-owned television network, was your source of information. You would think that they would go on to the Secret Service, the CSIS, etc., to ask for information on how actually, what big of a threat these people and these protesters actually mean to the government and to the average Canadian. No, they're saying, well, I relied on CBC. Mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. And then a couple of days ago, we had Chrystia Freeland being asked, well, what was going on? How did you think that this was a good idea to invoke the Emergencies Act? And what was her response? Well, Canada's economic reputation was online. This is what she said. Canada's economic reputation was online. Whatever that means. The economy did not suffer during those days. Number one, this was shown just a few days ago or a week ago, that nothing really actually was felt by these protests on the economy. Number one. Number two, wouldn't you be more worried about Canada's democratic reputation being on the line by invoking the Emergencies Act? That's what I would be worried about. How the international community would look upon this form of aggression towards Canada's own people by its government. Not very democratic, but it seems that they don't care. Democracy is secondary to everything. As long as they get what they want, as long as their will is imposed upon the people, and things happen as they want it to. We've seen this for years, and this has not changed. But things are coming out of the woodwork now. More and more we see that this government has absolutely no clue of what democracy is, and does not even want to think in a democratic way. They don't care about democracy, only about what they want to get done. Agenda. It has nothing to do about Canadians, nothing to do about the people of Canada. This is for sure. What do you see? What happened yesterday? Minister of Public Safety, Mr. Mendicino, comes out and says, well, now the MPs are going to need, wait for it, panic buttons, because threats are coming out against MPs, and he was threatened as well. Threats should not be uttered, should not be said, should not be made, ever. And whoever's making any sorts of threats against anybody, they deserve to be prosecuted. Don't get me wrong. But you know what else should be avoided? Is disgusting, despicable, and needs to be prosecuted as well? Is when MPs, elected officials, lie to our faces day in and day out, lie every day, and don't care anything, one smidgen about Canada and Canadians, and they lie consistently to our faces. Yes, Mr. Mendicino, yes, Mr. Trudeau, and yes, Mr. Turnbull. I'm talking about you. The consistent lying by you and your governments has got to stop, and it needs to stop. It's coming to an end. It's going to be over soon. I'm sure you feel it. It's disgusting. Do I condone threats being uttered? Of course not. I've had it done to myself. Not fun. At the same time, your behavior is what's prompting this sort of behavior by the public. Do not be said. Come out and say the truth. The truth will set you free, as we know. You're afraid, and I understand why, because you're lying. You don't even know what you're lying about anymore. Every day it's a new and different lie. Come clean and stop with the lies. Stop with the lies. But if we're on the topic of lying and topic of agenda, look what's come out yesterday. Again, more lies, more agenda, more scandal. Turns out Mr. Trudeau interfered in the RCMP investigation of the mass shooting in Nova Scotia a few years ago because he wanted to push an agenda for gun control. You are a sick man, Mr. Trudeau. You know what? Whoever else is sick, whoever is propping up this government, you better believe it, Mr. Singh, and those who support Trudeau, like Mr. Turnbull and all his MPs. Sick and disgusting. I'm sorry, but we've come to a point where there are no other words for this type of behavior. Pushing an agenda of gun control and you go and you interfere in an investigation, an RCMP investigation, you are sick and it's disgusting. My friends, time is near. Honestly, the way things are going, scandal upon scandal, things are going to change soon. This we know. I am sure of it. I feel it. But we have to be ready. We have to keep pressing our MPs. Keep calling. Keep sending those emails. And keep telling them what you think. That's the only way to get through. And we have to be prepared. Please, be prepared. Because I have a feeling an election will come sooner than later. And if you feel that you want change, real change, a complete revolution in the way we do politics, we got to get rid of not only the NDP and Liberals, but also the Conservative Party. They're no better. For 2 years, or how many years, all they were doing is watching what happens and did absolutely nothing for us. It was only the PPC, Maxime Bernier, and all those in the PPC who were willing to put their necks out for freedom and for the truth. Please join the PPC. We need your support. Become a member. Please donate, because it takes money to run campaigns and run all these things that we're doing. And most of all, get the word out that we are the real deal. Please sign and subscribe, like, and pass it on, because we need the truth to get out there. This is Thomas Androvic, and talk to you later. Bye for now.